Okay, so Ashley, I was running this morning and I was thinking about grief.
Good job for
I know.
running.
Okay, yeah.
We're talking about grief.
I'm not bragging about running. I'm just telling you, I was out this morning early. The sun was getting ready to come up, and I was thinking about grief. And sometimes I think about grief because when we go by the hospital, that we have some associations with grief there. We don't have to talk about that right now. But I was thinking about how grief is spiritual. Okay, and I want to know your thoughts on it. She doesn't know anything that I'm going to get ready to ask her. I just pulled her from putting the baby down for a nap, and I'm going to ask you questions. So I was thinking about how a lot of times people think it is spiritual to be really joyful and to be happy and to kind of look past things that are bad.
Yeah.
Kind of like, no, I'm supposed to be joyful. I'm supposed to be happy. I have Jesus in my heart, so things are supposed to be okay. And then if you grieve and really like lament, because there's a book of the Bible called Lamentations, and the Psalms have like a lot of grief in it. So I almost think that it seems like people have removed the spiritual component and the need for grief. Like you need to grieve, and it actually is not distancing you from God, but connecting you.
Yeah.
So I want to know your thoughts.
I completely agree. I definitely think that, we can have this struggle, like a spiritual struggle. Like it's spiritual to be happy, healthy, okay, and not have any problems. Like that's what it means to be a Christian and to go through something. And I do believe that God gives peace. I believe he gives peace beyond our understanding. And so we are sometimes able to be strong whenever we don't feel like it. But I do think it takes more courage to allow yourself to grieve, because like anger is one of these one of these kind of like cap emotions. Like I can just be angry and it makes us feel powerful, it makes us feel strong, but it actually takes more energy sometimes to say I'm going to be vulnerable and allow myself to feel. And so I believe that it's important to allow ourselves to grieve, and it can look different for different people and the timing and how we deal with it. But I personally feel like we can kind of want to run from it, and especially if we're trying to be strong, that we want to run and not deal with it. But I think, maybe it could look different. Maybe it's turning on a worship song or a song that helps you to feel, but not like turn on a blues, I'm going to go kill somebody, hurt somebody. Like there's music like that as well.
Not like getting into the negative emotions and being angry or doing something like that, but saying that like I'm going to go there, I'm going to deal with it, and I'm going to allow myself to feel it, and that's important.
Yeah, and especially particularly taking it to God and say, God, I don't know how to deal with this, but I am choosing to deal with it rather than just ignore it.
So I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay.
Actually, it's part of one of your answers. You said something about a cap emotion. Can you talk about that? What do you mean by a cap emotion?
Okay, so
I don't know what that means.
Like you cap it off. Like you say you might imagine this like emotional jug. We've been like kind of taught different things like this. We have this emotional jug, but we want to not deal with it, and so you just put a cap on the jug and you try to leave. And you're like, okay. Then the emotions can't get out, and then eventually you explode. So, but anger can, like cap off. Like I won't feel the other emotions.
So you push through, like you push down the grief with anger, and that way you don't have to feel hurt. You feel more powerful.
Yeah, and I think it can be a distraction. Like if I'm really honest, I'm sitting here, I'm really sad, and then if the kids come in and they're fighting, I'm like, I'm gonna hurt them. I'm gonna hurt them. Well, what it really is like in my emotion is, I can't handle it right now, but it's easier instead of crying and going, I'm really, really sad, to be like, nobody cares about me, all these different things. And so that makes us feel powerful, where to cry makes us feel weak.
Yeah. Allowing yourself to feel makes yourself feel weak. And it's almost like, and going back to the spiritual thing, if we tell ourselves, if I'm weak, that means I'm not very spiritual.
Yeah.
But even though when I am weak, I am strong and leaning on the power of Christ. But it's almost like, even like mature Christians, for some reason, like people after they've been in the faith for a while, they almost think they're past certain things.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, even like thinking about like whenever you have people down on an altar to pray, or they, like if a Christian goes down, it's usually almost always for health problems, it seems like, because anything else,
or praying for another family member or something, it's external.
Yeah. And I want it to feel like we can pray for each other. And even in fact this week I prayed with some of my friends, and that's probably my highlight of the week. Like, I want to be vulnerable with people I love, but
And somebody who
sometimes it's hard.
is a strong Christian.
Yeah.
Someone who's had faith for a long time, devoted, all those things, but we can still pray for you.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. I think the balance of admitting that you don't have everything figured out, but not being okay as like, well, I'm just a mess and Jesus loves me anyways, and you can do whatever you want and your behavior is excused.
Yeah.
But admitting that you have problems. So I think that's good.
Yeah. So it's okay to admit that we are weak, because 100% of us are weak. For the dudes out there, it's okay to admit you have emotions, because guys experience 100% of the same emotions as women. We might display them differently.
You might feel them stronger because, like you said, like with the cap emotions, go back to that for a second. So if a guy is experiencing pain or grief or something like that, it could be really intense. That's why the anger that comes on top is really intense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, our anger is an indicator that there's something else maybe that we're not dealing with. And so if you find yourself being more angry, like, what am I really angry at? Or is anger the appropriate emotion? Are there other things that I might be thinking or feeling?
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Thanks for taking my questions.
Thanks for asking.
Ashley's smart, so I just pull her in and ask her questions sometimes.
Oh.
All right. Awesome. All right. See ya.
Yeah.